man.
Lord Ted,
How's it going?
not too bad. Talked to Jeff a couple hours ago.
Yeah.
That's really strange. It's a couple hours ago. It was like 4 a.m. Oh yeah, he's not going to make it today. So
Okay.
we talked about the tree thing, and his response was, "That's a tough one." He said
Yeah. I bet.
his first thought was, we just go cut a tree down and get a weight off of that. It's like, yeah, that would work, but I went through a lot of problems. He says, yeah,
There's public data on that, I think,
probably. I mean, but
because
okay, how many trees does it make to make that
well,
slash pile?
well, yeah, exactly. I mean, I found out. I did some more digging on this company, but they're a nonprofit, and
Oh,
you know as well as I do, nonprofits are a pain in the ass to work with.
yeah. Well, we'll edit this part out. It's not 6 o'clock yet.
Yeah. Yes. I'm sorry.
Watch your profanity.
Yeah.
No, I understand. I mean, I do work.
I'm not
I do a
saying they're
lot.
bad to work with.
No, no, but they're always looking to spend less money than you want them to spend.
Yeah, and sometimes to accomplish the unaccomplishable.
Yeah, right.
So,
I mean, there's got to be a way to do this.
oh, absolutely there
But
is. I mean,
here's the question: is it in their budget to make this happen?
yeah, yeah,
That's
exactly.
that's another question.
Yeah, I mean, you know,
Because I think the most accurate way to get this data, like I said yesterday, is fly the site, figure out which pile you want to use, and then extrapolate the data from there
you
after you've gotten what that truckload of wood weighs.
that makes the
That's
absolute most sense.
yeah,
I mean, to get to be like confident that you have
right,
at least close the density of what the others may be.
right. I mean, there's going to be a variance there. That just
Yeah,
goes without saying. But
yeah,
you're better off that way than shooting in the dark and hoping you come up with a good number.
yeah. So, yeah, well, exactly. I mean, we were talking, I don't like giving numbers over phone, but we were talking, like I told yesterday, it's like, this is not really a common thing. I mean, mostly is construction is what I'm focused on and doing. And usually, we know density of like rocks and whatnot. So that's what we're measuring. And it's like I told the guy, I don't know what to even charge you other than like a day rate, and I threw the number 1,500 out there, and he, and I said I'd probably, give you a break on it, obviously, because we would work at least until we got something that you can even remotely be satisfied with,
Right.
because I mean, it's a new thing for me and most of my community, it's a new thing. So, I haven't like heard or seen anybody even discuss a thing like this. Doesn't mean it can't be done though.
Right. And
So
that's a hard one. I mean, because like I said, the density of the piles,
yeah,
it's
that's the hardest thing.
yeah, there's a lot of air in that pile.
Yeah, and that's not even a thing like, LiDAR isn't even going to be a thing for that. I mean,
No, I mean you would cut through
it's
some of that, but
yeah,
not you're still gonna yeah, that's I don't hmm. I mean, so in my opinion, this is just an opinion.
it's going to be a
What
low flight and high over side and overlap.
yeah, my opinion would be that they would have been better off had when they started this whole project is to get a stand count of how many trees are on this site. And each section, I'm sure they were planted at different times. We would have an average age of the tree.
You
And
know,
then we could extrapolate out, okay, how big was that tree? And then we would just run that for that data for that section. And then, they would have an overall total. of how much wood is there,
Yeah.
you know?
See,
So
I don't know the whole backstory on this company, but I think something tells me that, they're very likely doing an investment in the property for possibly development. And there's several properties like this that they're interested in.
yeah, but if they're a
And
nonprofit, I mean, I don't see
yeah, of
that's
course,
that's a,
with that being said, who knows? I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, let's see here. Us, is there a chat on this? There must be.
yeah, there is.
I'm on my phone, so I mean, it's
Oh,
just easier for me because I got at this hour anyways.
I don't know why I'm having to let
Kids are
people
still
in
home.
this morning. Oh, I know why, because this isn't our normal link in case Chris decides to show up.
I pulled from the school.
Yeah, I changed the
Yeah,
link
so you
for
updated
this
it. Yeah.
call. Yeah. So
I
morning,
sent
Al.
the guy
Morning,
an email
Peter.
Good
last night
morning.
saying, what's that? Go ahead. Sorry.
Peter, do you have sound?
I do.
And we can hear you. Look at you.
It's like I said, it's somehow my webcam, whenever I go on Google Meet, the first moment it says it down to do it, say do it again, it works every time.
Oh well.
Yeah. Well, what
All
I'm
right.
saying though is I did send the guy an email saying we can do it. I mean, with these different things that, hey, we don't know what
So
that density is. We can
we,
cut
we,
it
we
in
we've got a
half.
couple new faces here, Chad. Let's get everybody up to speed on this.
Okay. Absolutely.
Uh, got one more
Hey,
guy
Al. Hey,
coming
Pete.
in somewhere. Oh, there he is. Morning, Gary.
Gary.
Hey, Gary.
Yeah, we got visitors today. And Gary, I put this up for you. I sent you this link. I haven't heard from Chris in a minute. He had some personal issues going on, and then I haven't heard from him. So, but I know that he did get an email with this link in it. So he may show up, he may not. Uh, that's yet to be seen. There we go. And I'm back in my little hidey hole here with my tree. All right, just angles and whatnot. I may have to get something else. But all right, Chad, let's get back to what we're talking about here. So Chad called me, what, 2 days ago?
Yesterday.
Was it,
Yesterday.
yes, was it
Yeah.
yesterday?
Yeah. And I just sent
He-
the link into the chat. So of their company.
so he's got an opportunity to fly a job, and they're looking for density of wood in a slash pile.
Yeah. They
Um,
want to know the tonnage. So
the
yeah, they need
tonnage,
to
how
know.
much weight is in each slash pile? So that creates a lot of problems. We don't know the volume of the air versus the volume of the wood. There's no way to actually figure that out. I talked to Jeff this morning for a good while. He's on his way to a job site 2 hours from his house, so he won't be joining us this morning. But one of the things that we're dealing with is just trying to figure out because all right, Chad, go ahead and tell the backstory.
So I got this lead off my website. He reached out to me, and basically what they have this parcel property. It's got a bunch of trees cut down. They've been dead. They're in piles. He reached out to me. Funny thing is, he found me on like the top third in ChatGPT for Orlando. So just kind of a thing, whatever. But anyways, yeah, they want to know how much like Michael was saying, how much tonnage is there, how much weight, whatnot, because they are going to bring in a portable incinerator, and they're going to use this as biocarbon, so they're going to reuse it for biocarbon. So they reached out to me to basically see if I can calculate the volumes. of these different things. And possibly there is also, they may also want to know the standing trees. That wasn't part of the original request, but it is a possibility. So that's kind of where I'm at. I did post some stuff on the school, so that's why I posted tree counting on the school with QGIS.
Yeah, and I haven't had time to go down that. I'm currently working on a project for Branson Pittman, so
Yeah,
and I'm pretty deep into that at the moment. I will take a look at that because that I know that so with like drone deploy, you can do stand counts and whatnot. I just didn't realize that it was there for QGIS at this point. But getting back to our current dilemma, the only accurate way that I could see of doing this, and Jeff kind of agreed with me on this one, is that the best possible way to do this would be to fly the site, pick a pile, take that pile, load it into a triaxle, take it to a scale,
yeah,
weigh the truck, and then come back, dump the load, and then weigh the truck again. And then we would have an accurate account of how much weight was in that pile. And then from that point, we could extrapolate out the volume and density of an average. I mean, that's,
yeah,
we would have a data set of one, so it's not going to be a great average, but it'll give us an idea where we could go with. Because normally when we're computing volumes, we're dealing with known
densities.
known densities. So aggregate is going to have a set density. Like sand is going to be more dense than stone because
Yeah, and
there's less air.
You must know density in order to make an accurate volume calculation. And these are citrus trees, so there is a known density of citrus trees.
Yeah, but
But
not the pile.
But not
for
the
this
pile.
there's not a known density. And that known density is like 550 to 600 what is it, kilometers per, I forget exactly what it is, but
Kilograms.
kilograms
Yeah, you're doing it again,
squared.
Chad. Yeah.
So you can take a safe number and cut that in half, but it's not even really going to be a safe number. I mean, it's just, you're being kind of conservative. But like Michael said, really, at the end of the day, if all the piles are very similar, take one, weigh it, you get that density, then the rest of them, yeah, it's kind of a, you'll get into a ballpark, but you're still not going to be a 5% type of thing, like where a construction site would be okay with it.
But
Right.
here maybe another way to do it, because the way I was thinking about it when you and I were talking about it yesterday, it just depends on how many trees are put in a pile, right, so to say. And did they squish this pile? Did they not? Was it a bigger tree? Maybe the other way around is like, okay, these trees are probably an average height before they cut them, right? Because they all were planted at the same time. The old, it wasn't a controlled growing environment. So let's say,
absolutely, yeah.
let's say that you come up with the tonnage. What does one tree weigh?
Well,
right?
there's a
So let's
difference
say
between
there were
green and
20,000
dried,
trees
and these
in
are
here.
all dried.
Right, and we talked about this earlier. I mean, we started this call earlier. The conversation that Jeff and I had is that if we could get if they had a stand count prior to any of the cutting of the trees,
Mhm.
we could figure out. So let's say that section A was planted in 2000, so that those trees are 25 years old. I'm sure that there's been trimming and pruning and whatnot involved in that. But we would have a better idea of how old the tree was. At that point, we could extrapolate the weight out better because we have a known age. And each one of these sections would be different. So in a perfect world, they would have done these stand counts before they started cutting so that they would have a better idea of how to figure this math out.
Yeah.
But right now and Chad brought up another thing before y'all got here. Another little fly in the ointment is that this is a nonprofit that's doing this.
Yeah.
So they're not going to want to spend a lot of money. And
Yeah.
I'm not knocking nonprofits. They have their place in the world. But
And some of them have
uh,
a large amount of money, but it's
right,
very hard to get that money.
right. They tend to be a little harder to deal with. Um, it's just been my experience. They tend to be a little more harder to deal with, and they tend to also, in my experience, and this is just and I've got a sample set of 2 for this. They tend to be a little more hard to deal with and a little more demanding and a little harder to part with money. So um, I don't know if this is a rabbit hole that you actually want to chase. Um,
Yeah,
yeah,
I
this
sent an
this is this
email
is a
out to
tough one.
him. I sent an email out to him, and I went down my rabbit hole yesterday, and it's like one of these things that, yeah, I can do it, but you know, we can do the safe method, or we can do a more accurate method by measuring.
Yeah, I think the accurate method is to pick up a pile and get it weighed.
Yeah, and that's what I suggested.
That way, at least we've got a baseline. It's funny because I'm going through this whole thing right now as far as math goes, and the problem that I'm stuck on right now is the statistical analysis of repeated measurements. You may have seen that, Peter. Val posted it for Math Monday last week,
Mm,
or this week. So obviously, the more piles that we could measure, the better that baseline would be. But that's a whole lot
Yeah.
of time and money on their part to get us the data that we would need or you would need to get an accurate number. And I don't know if they're going to be willing to.
Well, even just to measure one, I mean, it's the effort is going to be, yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
absolutely. The more data sets you can get as far as weights, because at the end of the day, it's just a math problem,
yeah.
you know. So,
Oh,
but I'm not going further down that rabbit hole because, I mean, I know what can be done. I feel like I understand what can be done, and it's like how much do you want to spend the money to be, very close or close? Or do you want to gamble and we can get, a rough estimate, by cutting, and it's knowing that, that, cut what the actual density of a real citrus tree that's dried, cut that number in half and maybe even more and just be a conservative number, but knowing that we're just guessing at that point.
yeah, and
It's a total
guessing doesn't really.
work. Yeah.
No, it doesn't. I mean, it's not a good
It's not
look
a
for
good
us
thing.
either.
No.
Yeah.
But it's one
So
of those things that, I stated these things professionally in this email because I did send him an email last night, but at that point he knows that, it's at that point it's up to him,
right.
you know, how it, and it's one of these things that, from the conversation, and of course, it probably always is like this. Even another construction company I worked with, you know, it's always important. It's they line the conversation. Yeah, this is the absolute most important thing I need done. Because it's obviously a problem they want to solve.
Right.
So I guess at that point it's going to be up to him. How much risk and investment do you want to do to get what you want?
Exactly.
The
And
risk is
is
going
it
to be guessing, or the investment may be go measure or go get some weights.
right? Yeah, that's a tough one, Chad.
It is. I mean, it's not a normal one. I even reached out to a guy on LinkedIn that I'm pretty well connected to through Randall and from Andrew Robotics, Randall Warnes. And I didn't reach out to Randall, but I reached out to a guy that's like into heavy mapping and volume calculations and whatnot. And it even puzzled him. So, yeah. Yeah, at the end of the day, you got brush piles. I
Yeah,
mean,
that
it's a
that's what
perfect
you're
brush
dealing.
fire
Yeah,
is
like I
what it
said, out
would
here,
be, but these
we
guys
just get
want
a
to reuse
permit.
it.
Yeah, we just get a permit out here and burn it. So, but yeah. Hey, so something came up this week. Speaking of Jeff again, because he sent me a text. He says, you know what? I'm gonna, what did he say? He said he's pulling a Michael Lilly. Let me find, yeah, it made me chuckle. Um, oh, here it is. One lesson learned from Michael Lilly is shoot ground control whether you need it or not. Okay. So evidently the issue we didn't talk a lot about this. I just got a laugh out of it, and he said I told him, I said, yeah, it's just something that I do every time, every site, because, and I'm gonna share a screen here, maybe if I remember how to do this. Um, because Yes, do that. Continue. Start podcast. And all right. So here we should see everybody's lovely face now. Let's get over
Mhm.
here. All right. So this is the Holly Hills job that I'm working on. And Saturday I had the pleasure of working with Al on it because he also has an AMLID, and I thought using two of them on the site would be a good idea because that way we can set up a base station, and because I had some more points to shoot that weren't on the original flight. The original flight's on the left-hand side of your screen. And on the right-hand side of your screen is the most current flight from last Saturday. So you see some difference in the greenage and whatnot. A little bit of snow on the left side, but like down in this corner, if you follow this road on the left side of your screen, you notice that it's not, I didn't get all of it with my initial flight. So with the new flight that we're doing, you can see, I can't, there we go. You can see that I've got that entire, why are you doing? This is what sucks with an iPad. I
Yep.
apologize.
You know, we're
Um,
fine.
just get over there. You can see that I've got that entire road. And there's a reason for that, why the superintendent wanted that. But getting back to why I had two AMLIDs out there that day was so that I could reshoot some ground control or shoot some new ground control out on these roads. If we zoom in, you can also see that they had just done locates. So we've got all the water lines here, all the blue lines. There's some electrical over on the, not electrical, what is yellow? Yeah, electrical, or no, that's not. Anyway,
It's
and
gas.
that's, what's that? Gas. Yes,
Gas.
thank you.
Yes. Yep.
Um, and that's one of the things that supers really like to see, because now they've got a permanent record of all their locates done. But we came in and I got there a little earlier before Al, and like, here's one of my points, that little red circle on top of that manhole cover. So that's one of the points that we reshot, or that I reshot, or didn't reshoot, shot for the first time. And I added those to the existing ground control that were on site. There's our vehicles. There's a picnic table under this tree. That's where we were sitting, because, well, why not? But getting to the what I want, reason I'm bringing this up, now when I need you over here, there we go, is alignment issues. Okay. Because what I've found in the past, when I was not using ground control, um, when I would try to align things, it got to be a real pain in the butt. So if you look at this as far as the alignment goes, it's pretty tits on. Um, I wish I had one that wasn't. Actually, yeah, I don't have that one loaded, but I could do this, run this same map and not use ground control, and you'll see that there'll be a shift. In fact, I may do that for the
It
next
looks really
call
good.
so that we can see. Yeah, and this is because we've got ground control here.
Yeah.
And so all said and done, I think I've got 19 points shot on this job. For the one on the right, um, this side, there's 19. Oh, Michael, there. Okay, can we spin? Maybe slowly.
And that's Pix4D Cloud, right?
Yep. Let's do this. And because there I can do that. Right. Let me come back in. So the original one, the ground controls for the original flights were just within the boundary that is these row of buildings on the north, the fence line on the west, and then Cornell, which is the street to the south, and then Locust, which is this street here. So I did get a locust in the initial one, but because we spread it out, which is why, like I said, getting back to that. But I think the ability that, so has anybody on here really looked at the RTK3, DRTK3 hard? I know you've looked at it somewhat, haven't you, Peter?
Yeah, just a little bit and kind of read the description of what it can do. But I've seen post a number of times that it's currently limited. And I knew when they launched it, they said it was limited to which constellation. I think it was only the BDO, the Chinese constellation that it grabbed, but they said with firmware that will update. But
Yeah,
I haven't seen
it's
any
always famous for
comparisons
that.
out there yet.
Yeah, I haven't either. I mean, so they've made some changes to it that are attractive. I like the fact that we can shoot points with it now, which you couldn't do before. You're still using it for end trip though. You still need to have end trip. I do not know if you can. Well, you probably could because that's how they did it with the old one. Set up over a known point and broadcast those corrections. You would broadcast those corrections to your drone. So with the new one, you could probably broadcast those direct corrections to a second unit. So you have a base and rover combo. And this all comes back to accuracy. And we know that I harp on that. And my 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 root mean square on this map that we're looking at right now was about 500ths of a foot. I'll take that every day of the week. I'm very happy with that. My superintendent's very happy with that. I always aim for a tenth minimum, tenth of a foot. So I'm better than half of that on this map. And it all comes from the fact, and I strongly believe this, that my baseline, you know, you can pretty much, can I turn on? Probably, but I don't know. So you have a good we're all pilots here. We know pretty much what the flight path looked like. It was north to south on this. So, but my baseline went from right there. That's my AMLID. Actually, that's Al's AMLID. Where's that my AMLID? I think that's my
That's
AMLID.
yours. That's
That is
yours.
my. Thank you, Al. And it was casting corrections to both the rover, which was Al's the unit that I used, as well as mine and Al's drone because we both flew this site. So, getting back to baseline, my longest baseline on this job. Can I draw a line? I have a pencil. My longest baseline on this job was from, we'll say, this point. Okay, what happened? All right, we're not going to draw a line. Technology, it's grand, isn't it?
Yeah, it works when it works. It's great.
Yeah, I don't know where that. Yeah, my longest baseline, dismissed, come back to this one. was no more than 1,000 feet. I know that the site is like 1,800 feet long, maybe. And so it was a relatively short baseline. So you know that the